If you've ever struggled with being creative in your stories and creative writing, I'm going to give you 5 different plot twists that you can put in your creative writing that will make your creative writing pop. Number 1 is expectation versus reality. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up a very clear expectation and then you're going to completely flip it at the last moment. So how to do this? Firstly, you're going to establish a very predictable outcome. So you're going to lead the reader to think they know exactly what's going to happen. Then number 2, you're going to introduce subtle clues. Then you're going to kind of introduce small details that things might not be as they seem. And then the third is you're going to reveal the truth. You're going to subvert or go against the original expectation in an unexpected but still logical way. So you don't want to make it seem so far-fetched that it makes no sense, but you kind of want to keep it aligned with what you were saying. You just want to change it around last minute and unexpectedly. So a general example could be that a hero, for example, believes they defeated the villain, but only to find out the villain had plotted for them to do that all along. It's something subtly you could show that the villain had planned it, you could do some subtle clues, and then it reveals at the end that it was all part of the villain's master plan. And here's a few specific examples you could actually use in your creative writing. A detective solves a murder, convinced they'd caught the killer, until they realize the real murderers is the victim's best friend who helped with the investigation. Number 2, a student believes that they're the only one who failed an exam, only to find out everyone failed because the test was actually an experiment. Number 3, a girl sees her lost dog running down the street, only to realize it's not her dog, but an identical stray leading her somewhere important. So just think about it. You want to have an expected outcome and then just flip it at the end, but don't make it too crazy that it doesn't even seem linked. Now, for any of you who don't know, I've got a website called the Lightup Hub, which has everything you want on it for literature and language, and particularly for creative writing. We've got full breakdowns on how to write out 40 out of 40 pieces of creative writing. We give you creative writing vocab. We even show you how to pre-write it out and adapt it to any question, so you never have to struggle with creative writing again, and you can literally go into the exam knowing what you're going to write. So I'll put a link below to the Lightup Hub if you're interested in having a look at that. Number 2 is you want to reverse the character's goal. For example, a character believes they've achieved some kind of success, but the outcome is actually the opposite of what they intended. So how to do this? Number 1, you want to define the goal. Make it very clear what the character wants to achieve. Number 2, you want to give the character a moment of victory. So you want to make the reader believe that the character's actually succeeded or achieved that thing. And then number 3, you want to introduce the twist to show why their success has backfired on them, or it's meaningless or pointless. So a general example could be something like a scientist creates a cure for a deadly disease, only to realize it's actually a virus that makes the disease worse. Because think about the goal of the scientist here is to create a cure. We would give them a moment of victory. We'd explain how they've created the cure and that it was working in the formula that they'd created it in. But then the twist is it's actually making the virus worse. And here are some specific examples that you can use in your creative writing. A prisoner spends a decade digging a tunnel beneath their cell, hiding the progress carefully, and on the night of their escape, they break through the final wall into the warden's office. A team of master criminals plans the perfect bank heist, bypassing security and breaking into the vault, only to find out the bank was already robbed the night before and they're now the prime suspects. A scientist volunteers for a dangerous experiment that will allow them to explore a parallel dimension. They step through the portal, believing they'll be gone only moments. When they return, 100 years have passed and everyone they knew is gone. And number 3 is the unreliable narrator. Now, I really like this one. So what this is that the narrator appears reliable, they appear trustworthy, but really they're hiding or distorting the truth from the reader. So how to do this? The first thing we want to do is we want to make the narrator seem trustworthy. So everything they do, it seems factual, it seems very honest. And number 2, you want to drop some small inconsistencies. So kind of clues to suggest something's not quite right. It seems like they are trustworthy, but there are these hints that maybe the reader should be a bit more cautious of them. And number 3 is you want to reveal the truth, showing how the narrator was actually lying, they were misleading, they were hiding the truth, and they almost betrayed the reader. So a bit of a general example could be, for example, a girl is writing letters to her best friend to only find out the best friend never existed, and she was making up the whole time and she was lying. So we would make the narrator, we'd make the girl seem very trustworthy in the fact that she'd be writing these letters. It seems very convincing that she's missing her friend, or maybe her friend is dead, or maybe she's longing to find a friend. We would then drop some small inconsistencies, thinking about some subtle things that would show that the girl is maybe lying, Maybe she might get some facts mixed up. She might contradict herself in these letters. And then we'd reveal the truth. We'd reveal it in a way to show that the girl was making it up the whole time. Maybe somebody exposes that these letters were fake or they were misleading. And that would therefore show the narrator was untrustworthy. So here are some more specific examples you could actually use in your creative writing. A girl speaks lovingly about her twin sister, how they've always done everything together, sharing secrets, adventures, and fears. In the final paragraph, she confesses her twin died at birth and she'd been speaking to a reflection in the mirror her entire life. A patient recounts their therapy sessions with a kind and understanding doctor, detailing their progress and emotional breakthroughs. But at the climax, they realise they've been sitting alone in an abandoned hospital talking to an empty chair. A detective is hunting a dangerous serial killer, piecing together their habits, motives, and victims. The final revelation, the detective is the killer, suffering from amnesia and investigating their own crimes. And number 4 is the genre swap surprise. Now, a genre is the kind of type of writing it is, like, is it romance, is it action, is it thriller? So what this is we start the story in one genre, but then we transform to another. So how you want to do this is the first thing you want to do is you want to establish a very clear genre at the beginning. And this could be something like romance. It could be horror, it could be mystery, it could be science fiction, it could be dystopian. And just so you know, dystopian is where we take like a modern day problem and we put it into the future and we make it seem a bit more extreme. And the second thing you want to do is you want to introduce these kind of small hints of something being off or changing. So you want to drop some hints of the next genre that you might be introducing. Let's say you start off with romance and you're going to be introducing the genre of horror. You want to start dropping some hints of some ways you might describe something in a horror description. Number 3, you want to flip the genre completely. So if it started off as romance, it wants to be completely horror by the end. So a general example of how we could do this, let's say we start off as romance and we turn it into horror. So let's say the initial setup is romance, like a woman falls in love with this man, and then he invites her to his family's home. And then you'd be describing the romance, but then the twist would be, we're gonna go into horror, is that when she arrives, the family has been like dead for centuries, and then he like traps her and never lets her leave. So you can see, and the way we would do that is we'd start off with really romantic, but the way we might describe the husband or the guy that she loves is we might have some subtle descriptions about him being slightly deranged or not mentally all there, or the way that he'd be lying about his family, and then we transcend it completely into horror so there'd be no love, and that shows that we kind of flip the genre. So here are 2 more specific examples that you could actually use to flip the genre. The first one is going from something like mystery to science fiction. So a detective investigates a string of disappearances in a small town. No bodies are found, but there are strange markings at every crime scene. He discovers that the victims weren't killed, they were abducted by extraterrestrials who have been silently studying humans. And then a second more specific one is we could do something from like fantasy to like a dystopian thriller. A young hero in a medieval kingdom embarks on a quest to defeat an evil sorcerer. They fight dragons, wild enchanted swords, and uncover ancient prophecies. The magic turns out to be highly advanced technology, and the medieval kingdom is actually a future society that has forgotten its origins after a great war. So there, guys, there are your 4 different tools that you can utilize to make that creative writing pop. Comment which one that you're going to use. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to link another video here to help you with your revision for English language. But don't forget to subscribe, because if you like these videos, we do loads more of them.